Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Pleasure Chest X Pop Dildo Workshop. I'll give it just a minute or two for folks to kind of trickle in before we start. And then in the chat, we have some lovely behind the scenes folks who will be dropping in product links and things like that. Ooh. We'd love to know where people are from as you're entering, where you're tuning in from in the world. I say we've had people from like all over, a lot of international folks before. It's pretty sweet.
Awesome.
And it's always nice when people are like, oh, I go to the Pleasure Chest location in New York or Chicago or LA. That's always cool to see too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Welcome to the Pop Workshop. Okay. Give it maybe like one more minute and then we'll start. I don't want to let it run in too long. We thinking we're almost ready to go? All right.
I'm ready when you are.
Excellent. Like I said, welcome to the Pleasure Chest and Pop Dildo Workshop. Our wonderful guest of honor today is the fantastic, the amazing, the revolutionary Stephanie Berman. She is the founder and creator of what is now currently known as the Pop Dildo, originally called the Seminette. She has been working in reproductive health since 2003 as the co-owner and vice president of her family business. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the workshop so we can hear more from her about how she got her start. Stephanie has been an incredible pioneer in the sex toy industry in revolutionizing insemination options for couples who don't want to use a turkey baster, but also create an awesome squirting dildo. So we are super excited to welcome her today. Stephanie.
Hello.
Would you like to give a further introduction or welcome?
I'm you did an excellent job. Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, super excited to have Pop back on the market and available again. It's been a very long journey, so I am really excited to just be back and sharing it with everyone again.
Yay! And thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
I remember the previous version of the Pop Dildo, so I was really excited to see that it was back, new, improved,
yes,
more options, now partnered with Tantus. So
correct.
You founded Berman Innovations, which is your company, in Boston in 2012. I used to live in Boston, but not in 2012. Prior to that, love that. Which led to the creation of the first Pop Dildo a couple of years later, because if folks take time to go through prototypes and put them through production, it's not like an overnight thing where you have an idea and like a couple weeks or months later, the product's on the market.
Yeah.
And like I said before, you've been involved in women's reproductive health since 2003. How and when did you decide to become involved in your family's reproductive business? I believe it's Sepal Reproductive. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah. So it was honestly, I graduated college and I had always wanted to be a writer. It's a tough gig to to make money at when you're just out of college. So the opportunity presented itself to work for the family business, and so I jumped at that chance and ended up staying with the company for over 15 years. So I really spent my a lot of my journey working on the ins and outs of women's reproductive health, learning, just learning about everything from sperm to artificial insemination to IVF and all of the nuances, the emotions that go with it. It's a very in-depth process. It's very expensive. It's very invasive. So that just trajectory of learning all of that is really how I landed by chance in the adult industry.
And so did you start as a copywriter for your company?
So I started,
since you said you were a writer.
Yeah, no. So my writing honestly had nothing to do with the family business. I would just write for pleasure, which I still do. I still enjoy writing, but I write the blog on the Pop website. So that's kind of my outlet for writing at this point. But I started there as a sales rep. I was literally got a territory and just I started in sales, and then kind of worked my way up. And then I went into marketing, and then it just kind of, grew my career over 15 odd years, and then eventually worked up to vice president. And yeah, I mean, it really was quite a journey. And then, when you couple all of that, my partner and I had wanted to start our family. And so, being in that industry, I thought, oh, this is going to be easy. Like I have access to all these things and I know all of these resources. But when you really start to break it down on a granular level for same-sex couples, it's not as easy as one might think. And the options that were available to us at that time were not ideal. They were extremely expensive. They did not allow me as the non-carrying partner to really be involved in the process the way that I wanted to be. There's something to be said for being able to have that intimacy and in the privacy of your own home. And that's really what we were seeking. So that was kind of that moment where I realized people are using actual turkey basters at home from their kitchen, and they're using needleless syringes. And, I kind of said to myself, this has to exist in some form that's not a turkey baster or a syringe. And there wasn't. At the time, there really was nothing that sort of hit the mark in terms of something that would be functional, that would be safe, sterile, all of those things to, and then add the intimacy that my partner and I were looking for. And that's really kind of how this all came about. It was being in the women's reproductive space and being able to sort of couple that knowledge into sex, which, we all enjoy and have, and kind of figuring out how do we, mold those worlds together.
So that's kind of how your work at CPAL informed the creation of the first Seminette, was
Yes.
to create this kind of alternative, right? Okay, that makes sense. I also can't imagine using a turkey baster. It's like you have a second baster at home and you put you get your little label maker and be like, baby maker, turkey.
Exactly.
Keep these separate. Don't let the family use this other one. Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is never the same once you try to use a turkey baster as an insemination device. So yeah, it really was, it was really trying to take the next step and think about how could I create something that would allow all of these things to happen and not be a turkey baster.
That makes total sense. I've been in the industry for a couple of years, but of course I was aware of and curious about products for quite a long time before that. And there haven't been a lot of even just squirting dildo options, especially ones that are safe and sterile materials. Like for a long time on the market, the only ones available were like ultra skin, porous blend materials. And for obvious reasons, just aside from hygiene and safety, you really don't want to use a porous material for something like insemination. That just doesn't seem like a good idea. It seems significantly less ideal. Also, a lot of those are more anatomical in design, things like that. So I can totally understand. So you have 2 children now, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
Is it safe to ask
Yes.
if the Seminette was involved in the creation of your children?
Absolutely. Yes. So I obviously in the prototyping process, as we touched on earlier, it's not something that happens overnight. It's quite a long and elaborate process. There's a lot of rounds of prototyping that you go through. I get asked a lot about making sex toys, and is it an easy thing? It's not. It's doable, but it's not an easy thing. And with my technology, it required a lot of nuanced engineering to accomplish everything that I was looking for. So again, it was like, when you touched upon other products that have been out there, I had become aware of those, but then at the same time, I knew what those were lacking and what I wanted in terms of what I knew was necessary to accomplish for the purpose that I was looking for. So something, again, and that's kind of how my background in women's reproductive health really helped me accomplish this unique technology that POP has. And so that was really sort of the backbone of what separated POP from anything else, was this really unique technology that allowed for a safe delivery of whatever liquid you're going to be using, and feeling confident in the materials and all of those things that POP provided.
Yeah, you were looking to fill a gap in the marketplace and create the product that you couldn't find because it didn't exist. That makes
absolutely
total sense. Necessity is the mother of invention. Not to put too fine a point on it. I get it. So Seminette first went into production around 2015 with the help of an angel investor. But through my research, I found the old Indiegogo campaign. So I thought that was really interesting about when and how you decided to use a crowdsourcing platform. Why was it, more to get the word out, to gauge interest and things like that? And I'd love to hear a little bit more about exactly what not exactly, but more about what the prototyping to production process is kind of like, especially after you got your investor.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I answered your last question. We did conceive both of our kids with my product. My daughter was in 2000. It was with the first functioning prototype we used, and my partner got pregnant, and that's actually when the investor decided to invest in the company. So once he saw that the product actually worked, that was really the final kind of push that it took to gain the investment. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the crowdsourcing and Indiegogo, I mean, this was already, we're talking back in 2014, 2015, I believe. Back then, which it's weird to say back then because it's not that long ago, but it's long enough ago where at that time, sex toys and things of the adult nature were very taboo on crowdsourcing. There really weren't a lot of companies that were able to utilize the platforms. So I wanted to kind of push the envelope and kind of test the water. It wasn't really so much about gaining the financial backing, since I did have that from the investor, but it was more about gauging interest, trying to get the word out, seeing what people's sort of barometer was at that time for a product like this. And at that point, I was already sort of wanting to explore different versions and models of the toy. So it was kind of teasing that a little bit, seeing what I could, what kind of traction I could gain. And that was really that was really the purpose of the Indiegogo. And to be honest, it wasn't very successful. So that was kind of a learning lesson for me. But at the same time, no regret. It was a learning experience, and still just appreciate. I always appreciate every part of my process, even if it's negative. I take it as a learning tool for how to make things better in the future.
Yeah. And crowdsourcing is really, really difficult. It's really hit or miss, and
Yes.
it's a strange world. I have a lot of friends who have used crowdsourcing for a bunch of different products. I even know a couple of people who've done not sex toys, but things in the adult and fetish realm. And some of those have been wildly successful. Some of them, it's just been really hard to get the platforms on board. So I was kind of curious about that. And then as to my sort of second part of the question,
yes.
So you decided to collaborate with a larger company. The first collaboration was with Fun Factory, right?
Correct. Yep.
And that's great because Fun Factory has a lot of resources at their disposal. They're already in production on a lot of toys. They're always developing new things. Pleasure Chest has worked with Fun Factory for a long time. They're based here in Los Angeles,
Yep.
or one of their hubs is here in Los Angeles. So what was it like to be able to work with the Fun Factory team and have their resources at your disposal? And what was like just the timeline for production from the time you actually got the investment after the proof of concept, shall we say?
Yes. I think I partnered with Fun Factory. It was probably closer to 2018, I believe, was around there. So I had been on the market for a little bit. And when I started, I came out with the Seamanette. It was one form in 4 colors. And so it was, not a lot. It was, not a lot of option there, you know what I mean? And so with Fun Factory, my goal was to be able to kind of broaden things a little bit, broaden the scope. Obviously, anytime a company like myself, where it's small, it's literally, I'm doing every job. I'm doing fulfillment, I'm doing email, I'm doing, accounting, all of those things. You're wearing every hat. So to have additional resources available to me, I mean, of course, it's something that's extremely amazing, and I was very grateful for the opportunity. Some of the challenges are that sometimes with a product like mine, it's still very, it's newer to people, and it requires a lot of education to, tell people that this is a category that they may not know about, but maybe something that they want to explore. And so even beyond, my message that I led with was that, yeah, this was a device that my partner and I used to conceive, but then as I'm entering the market, there's all of these other, utilizations for the product that are well beyond just the sort of functional aspect, these pleasure aspects of the product, as a self-lubricator for men with erectile dysfunction, for, all of these kind of other categories that I really wasn't even aware about when I brought the toy to market. So Fun Factory, working with them kind of helped me explore a little bit more of that. And I mean, production, they have an incredible production in Germany. It's like a well-oiled machine there. So, production was fairly short, because really what we did was we used like an existing model of a form that they had already made, and then we sort of enveloped my technology into that. So it wasn't too long of a trajectory before I was able to get the next iteration onto the market, which was amazing. And that's another learning tool that I've used now as the product has continued to grow, and partnering with, once I was acquired by Tantus, and, being able to take my technology and kind of put it into these different forms. It's been a great learning process all along.
That's really cool. And the mold from Fun Factory was the Boss dildo, right?
It was. Yep. Exactly.
That's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay. I was like, I'm pretty sure, but I wasn't 100%
Yes.
sure. Okay. And then did the name change from Seamanette to Pop occur when you decided to do the collaboration with Fun Factory?
Yes. Yep. So it was
As
kind of,
in, and how did the name change come about?
it was kind of like we had talked about just kind of doing like a full rebrand. I had gotten some feedback about the name of the first iteration and some of the packaging. And again, like I take all of those things, I try to take everybody's feedback, good or bad, and learn from it. And my first attempt at a sex toy, while it was successful, as I learned more about this industry, I learned there were a lot of changes that needed to be made in terms of the aesthetic, the colors that were available. And so that's kind of why we did the rebrand with the name, color options. So yeah, that all started with Fun Factory.
I'm really excited about the new line, which has 3 models in a bunch of different tones. The Pop Slim comes in the 3 colors, which is the Midnight Indigo and Watermelon. The cool thing that this is so nerdy, but I was super excited when I got my samples that the black had some shimmer in it. And then I got to see the samples of the other colors. I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Maybe I'm basic. I really like shimmery, shiny things. Everyone at Pleasure Chest knows that. Like anything that comes in that's like shimmery, shiny, glitter, I'm so basic. I'm all about it.
Hey, nothing wrong with a little shimmer and shine.
I know. It's like this makes the black a little bit more fun.
Exactly.
And then of course, the Pop Dildo, the non-slim version, has a little bit of a different head. It has the ridges. It comes in the 3 natural tones, the cream, honey, and espresso, and that comes in the lagoon blue. So I thought that was great too, that it's more anatomical for folks who are interested in that, and it has corresponding natural tones, and then also a fun color for people who are maybe not into natural tones, which I really appreciate.
Yes.
And then the Packer, the Pop and Play, the squirting Packer dildo combo all arounder, comes in the 3 tones, which I thought the same ones, cream, honey, and espresso. I thought that was really cool, and that one is much more anatomical.
Yes.
The slim is the least anatomical, which makes sense too. It's funny, I've seen companies make dildos and refer to them as like lesbian pride dildos or things like that, and they're very anatomical. And that's one of those questions that always comes up where it's like, I'm not sure that this fits the bill for folks who might not be into anatomical penises. So I was like, I felt like even just looking at the product, when I saw the product images, I was like, okay, like I can see where all of the thought and care went into designing these 3 models, which I think is just really great. It's exciting for me, because there are some other companies that make squirting dildos, but they're clearly not marketed. A lot of them are fantasy toy companies. I'm all for that, but again, that's like a very specific different market, which is great. It's great that they exist, but maybe not as good for insemination or more realistic play. And some of those companies, like even the small size dildos, are really big. You're like, wow, that's like maybe not the most inclusive size range. So, sorry, I heard something out the window. I was like, what? No, I apologize. So I did have a question about the diameter of the tube and the syringe, because some squirting dildos I've seen on the market have these like really wide tubes, and I can't decide if that's good, because then it's, especially if you're using it as a squirting dildo and not for insemination, then you're just like pumping a lot of lube in, which maybe if you're using it as a lube shooter for certain things, it could be great. But I thought it was, I wondered if there was something in the physics of the diameter of the tube, the like ideal amount to use in the syringe, if you are looking to use it for insemination, that sets the pop dildo apart from, you know, some of the other ones that are now appearing on the market?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. Just to kind of touch upon what you're saying, I mean, one of the things that's been so important to me through my entire journey is just trying to be mindful of everyone, and every decision I make is with a lot of thought and intent, especially with the launch of the new line. I mean, everything down to, you know, the price points and as being part of the LGBTQIA community, you know, just having products that are accessible to communities that may not be, you know, as affluent or may not have access to these types of products that are really necessary. You know, every little decision that's made is very intentional. And again, that a lot of that comes from feedback from customers and people that I talk with and work with. You know, the slim was really, I got a lot of feedback about prior iterations that it was too large, you know, and I couldn't argue with that. I mean, it was called the Boss. I mean, before it was Pop. So it was a really large phallic looking dildo. So the slim was intentionally made to be non-phallic looking, you know, no realistic colorways. The original Pop, again, it is a little bit more phallic looking, but we're not talking like veins and, you know, super realistic. And so all of those little nuances are really thought out, you know, in this whole process. And, you know, the technology itself, I mean, when you're talking about the tubing, so, you know, the reason for the tubing being so slim for me personally, when you're using something as delicate as sperm, the larger tube doesn't really lend itself well because there's more diameter. And then with sperm samples being so small, we're talking like, I mean, in my knowledge, 2 ml is actually a pretty good size load. You know, it's normally pretty small amount that you're able to actually get. So that's sort of the idea behind the smaller syringe, the thinner tubing, the tip at the top, everything is kind of nuanced to that. But that's also understanding that's not the only utilization for the product. So we have the larger bulb that's available for folks that want that really exaggerated squirt. We've got the larger bulb. We also have a larger syringe. So if you prefer a syringe versus a bulb, we've got the, you know, it's the 20 ml syringe. So we go from a 2 ml all the way up to a 20 ml. So again, really trying to be mindful and hit all of these different nuances and what people's desires are. You know, I mean, you may even decide if you're doing, you know, if you are using this for insemination, maybe you do want the larger syringe. Whatever, you know, anything is going to be functional, and that's why we have all these options available. You know, I think the biggest thing is about the technology versus anything else that's on the market is it's called our PT3. It's patented technology. It's our tip and tubing locking mechanism. So basically, I mean, I can just show you real quick. I've got a dildo right here. So
please do.
And I even have a little cup of water. I can show you guys a little squirt really quick. So just again, with other products and other squirting dildos, this tubing is glued inside of the shaft. So again, from my perspective, if I can't take this tubing out, even if I'm sterilizing it or cleaning it, I still have no idea what's going on in there. There could be bacteria growing, there could be mold growing. I don't know that because I can't see unless I cut the dildo open and then I've ruined it. So from my world, having tubing that is removable and replaceable was absolutely key. And that's part of what makes the technology so unique. So you've got this tubing, it threads right through the dildo. We came up with this chamber on the base so that this can actually lay nice and flat. So this is very comfortable for people wearing this in a harness. Most other squirting dildos, the tubing is, poking out of the base. And so
it's not comfortable.
Not comfortable.
I've tried them and they're cast in place.
Exactly.
You can't remove them. You can't fully sterilize it. It's kind of a crapshoot. Not the best.
Exactly. And so again, those are all of the things that really set Pop Dildo apart. And so all of the components are removable and replaceable. This is the little tip, and this tip actually serves as the locking mechanism. So you can slide the tubing in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to load this up. So I'm going to take my handy syringe here. I'm going to put this in my liquid, which is down here, but you will see that I can load this up. And then I am going to slide the tip down, and you don't need to slide the tip down very far as long as it's not protruding on the top there. It lays nice and flat. You're not going to feel that at all. And then when you're ready to load this up, you can put this left or right. And then it's literally a squirt of the syringe. I'll do this. So hopefully it doesn't squirt on my computer, but you can see, could we see that?
I can. Ooh.
And that's honestly, and that's really it. And then to, take it apart, you're going to kind of wedge your little thumbnail in there, and that will dislodge the tubing. So that tip locks it into place. And then you can take everything out. The product comes with 3 additional tubes, 3 tips. It comes with everything you would need. And that's also, again, why we have refill kits. So again, really, really trying to cover all the bases of what everybody might want and need, and in a safe, functional way. My previous tagline was putting the fun in function. And that's really again, it's the backbone. It's, people need functional products, but why should they have to not be pleasurable and fun? And that's really what this is all about.
Exactly. Okay, so because it's the pandemic, lots of things have been really hard on lots of companies, but especially the sex industry. Sourcing materials, packaging has been difficult.
Yes.
So I know that right now the Pop Dildos are in not their final evolution, shall we say, because Pokemon. I don't know, I'm a nerd. They haven't reached their final evolution packaging, but I've heard that you have some you could show us.
I do. So
can we get a sneaky peeky?
Yeah, so of course. So obviously, as your folks will see on your website, we have the barrier bags right now, but we are going to be up and coming. So we've got a little sneak peek here. This is what final packaging is going to look like. So we'll have the nice here. And then when you open this up, you'll be able to see our product. We've got all of our key bullet points here, so y'all know what you're going to be buying. So this will be available hopefully by October. So that's soon to come, and many other iterations already in the works. So the wheels don't stop here. It's constant, trying to just, it's been such a long journey, and I've been sitting with this for so long. It's so personal to me. I conceived my kids with this. So it's really, it's something that is blood, sweat, and tears. And it means so much to me to be able to share this with everyone. So there's lots more to come, especially with working with Tantus. They're an amazing company, and being able to have them now as my backbone has been amazing.
Okay, we love
Yes.
Tantus. I personally love Tantus. I have a lot of their products. So, and now I have one of the Pop Dildos. So I'll certainly be trying the other ones. I'm so excited for your product because especially for queer folks who are in mixed HIV status couples, couples that are either one or both partners or trans, like this can be really revolutionary for folks who want to have an at-home experience, not an experience with a clinician, especially because that can be really cost prohibitive.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not a very fun or intimate experience. So I'm super excited for your product.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being a pioneer. I'm excited to see what other wonderful creations emerge from your brain. Your incredibly educated, very astute, deeply caring brain.
Thank you.
So I'm excited to see what's next. I think we all are. Well, I
Thank
should only
you.
speak for myself, but everyone should be excited if they aren't.
Yes.
So the even more exciting news is that we have a giveaway.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt y'all. I'm so sorry because we had a question from Instagram.
Okay.
Oh, woohoo!
Are air bubbles an issue? And how would you avoid possible air bubbles in the tube?
It's a great question. So what I would personally do is use a sperm safe lubricant that if you don't have a lot of a sperm sample, you can add some sperm safe lubricant. I would do a couple, if you're using this for insemination, I would do a couple trial runs before you actually use the sperm to make sure that you know exactly how to utilize the tool and the toy. Air bubbles are in some fashion, they're inevitable, but if you can also actually, when you draw the liquid up, you can see it in the tubing, which is also intentional with the clear tubing. So if there's air bubbles, you can simply, you can take the tubing kind of like a syringe and tap them out. Air bubbles really, they mostly what they're going to cause is cramping, which I'm not saying anybody wants. But even when you're doing this in a clinical setting, sometimes that's inevitable when you're using, you're using very tiny catheters for insemination. So I would just say my advice, I am not a doctor, but my advice would be to do some trial runs, try it out with water, try it out with lube. And so you get comfortable with the toy. And then if you see any air bubbles in the tubing, just kind of try to tap them out. You can even release the sperm again if you want and draw it right back in. It's not going to be harmful. The biggest harm with sperm is when it's exposed to air, fresh sperm when it's exposed to air. So that's really kind of where your timing comes into play. But otherwise, hopefully that answered your question.
I'd say, yeah, you should, to tag team off what Stephanie said, make sure you know what best practices are for sperm use. They can live 4 to 6 hours, but the efficacy drops after 60 minutes. That is if they are held in a closed, sterile container at body temperature, which is higher than room temperature. When they say body temperature, they mean like 98.7-ish degrees, like internal body temperature, not like 70 degrees. They can live longer in a nutrient-rich medium, but most people don't have access to that. So if you don't have like a live donor on site, even if you do, yeah, definitely look into best practices for how to store it if you're getting it from a bank, how to defrost it, talk to a doctor, because you can look some of these things up, but you might want to do a little bit more digging than the information we can present to you here today. So yes, as I say, we didn't get to talk a whole lot about that, but there's definitely best practices. So look into those, make sure you know what they are, and follow them to the letter.
Yes.
And yes, when they're exposed to air, that is like the worst thing for sperm.
Correct.
So you don't want that. Do we want to answer some more? Do we have some questions from the chat before we do our little like giveaway trivia moment?
Awesome.
Let me, sorry, that was it. Okay, cool. So our giveaway today is the Pop Slim in Midnight, which is the shimmery black color. the silicone's really nice. It's like squishy, but not too squishy. I don't want to give too much away, but it's great. I was very happy and grateful to receive a sample. Thank you, Stephanie.
Of course.
So I have a fun trivia question. Hopefully you've been paying lots of close attention to all the fascinating things Stephanie had to say. And hopefully some of the stuff I had to say too, but Stephanie said was more interesting. So our trivia question to win the amazing Pop Slim dildo is, what was the name of the first iteration of the Pop dildo? If you can give us the name that Stephanie used for the product before it became the Pop dildo, you will be the lucky recipient of a Pop Slim in the beautiful midnight color. Oh, okay, we got it.
Answers popping up.
I see it. Lord Jane. I'm sorry if I said your name wrong, but I think that's how you say it. Lord Jane. Seamanette. Yes, I would say the Pop Boss was the dildo mold that Fun Factory used to make the first Pop dildo, but yes, Seamanette. So that's gonna go to Lord Jane. Emma Pearl, you were so close. Just not quite as fast as Lord Jane. But yeah, the Big Boss was the mold, was the model they used. Fun Factory still makes the Big Boss, but it doesn't squirt. It's not an insemination device any longer. It's just their regular one. So to the winner, Lord Jane, it's in the chat, but I'll read it out to you. Please send an email to Alex, C-A-L-E-X-C as in cat, at pleasurechest.com, letting Alex know you won, and we'll figure out how to get you your wonderful new objet. So we also are running a promotion on our site for all of our wonderful attendees tonight. The code POP, P-O-P, will grant you 15% off our entire site from now through Sunday. So please feel free to hop over to our site, check out the awesome Pop product. Like I said, there are 3 models: the Pop Slim, the Pop Dildo, and the Pop and Play, which is the pack for combo. We also have the Pop Hybrid Lube. We have a selection of other lubes. Obviously, you can put water-based lube in it too. Since this is a silicone item, we strongly do not recommend you use silicone lube in the tube or on the dildo. And there's also the gift with purchase. It is the PT3 powder with every Pop purchase while supplies last. I believe we have a handful of those. So if you get in quick and you get your dildo, you will also get the PT3 powder. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Stephanie, for telling us more about yourself, the evolution of the Seamanette, the Pop dildo.
Absolutely.
Working with Fun Factory, Tantus. It was really exciting to hear more about you. You can learn more about the Pop Dildo at popdildo.com. Their Instagram is also, it's popdildo 2.0. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That's the correct Instagram handle?
Yes, indeed.
And check out Stephanie's writing on the Pop blog. And yeah, we appreciate you all being here, and thank you most of all to Stephanie. It was great to talk more about the Pop dildo with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you who attended. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I say thank you to the person in the chat who said thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our behind the scenes folks who've been dropping links in and helping everyone out. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. If you have questions, you can always reach out on Pleasure Chest, or give the web department a call, and check out Pop Dildo on Instagram and on their site. All right, have a good night, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.